Welcome back to the Alien Spaceship Talk Show podcast. And in case you're just joining us, you're listening to the Alien Spaceship Talk Show podcast with Emmy, Hikins and Trevor.
The other three countries have their own governing powers, if you like, own governments, as well as being part of the British government, whereas England, I know we have various countries where counties which have a mayor, etc., but we don't have our own government standing up speaking just for the English, which I've always felt is a bit strange. But there we are. Not to get into that kind of subject, but just to say, I think as English people, we've got every reason to be really proud of our country. We are a good force in the world, I believe, always have been. Let's stand up for ourselves and celebrate our great country on this St. George's Day.
Yeah. Well, I'm with you on that. Absolutely.
Good.
Yeah. So now we're talking about the greatest invention. Do you think airplane is the greatest invention?
Yeah, certainly. I think my assertion that the aeroplane is at least one of humanity's greatest inventions. When you actually think which things we take for granted in this world we live in, which our forefathers, our forebears and foremothers, I guess we have to say nowadays, but our forebears really paved the way for what we enjoy today. And no doubt today we are paving the way in various ways for the future. Because going back over the last 2 millennia, really, at least, and probably before, there's been this instinct, this wish within humans to want to fly. I guess the early humans, thousands of years ago, looked up and saw the birds, which of course the birds are connected genetically to the dinosaurs, so they really go back a long way. And they thought, well, they can fly, we can't, we want to be up there with them. And over the centuries, lots of people, lots of brilliant minds have grappled with this concept of how do we lift ourselves off of the terrain, off of the ground, and fly up there with the birds. And there's many examples of how that happens, or how it happened. For example, we can think of Leonardo da Vinci. Now, he was in the 1400s, the 15th century, and he did many designs for flying machines. His most common one, people say, well, he invented the helicopter, which isn't strictly true, but he did come up with designs for something which he called the ornithopter, like ornithology being birds, and he called it the ornithopter, which actually was kind of a design of a helicopter, a very early design, but which had wings like birds. So, of course, ultimately, the designs didn't really achieve what he wanted, but he worked very hard on that. And a brilliant man that he was, he again came up with some important elements of what was later taken on board. But really, I think, one of the important people in the history of flight was a guy called Abbas ibn Firmas, 3-part name. He was a Spaniard, and it was in the 9th century. Now, I won't go on about him too long, but he was what they called a polymath, someone who excels across a range of subjects. He was brilliant at astronomy and physics. He devised things to actually observe the universe, which in his time, in the 9th century, was quite unique. I mean, it was obviously a form of telescope, but they were very limited in what they could do. But he was an inventor, a scientist, and these initial designs enabled him to, for example, create a contraption which showed the orbits of the planets around the sun. Now, for somebody in the 9th century to be doing something like that was phenomenal. I mean, these people who like that were just brilliant minds. So that was something he did. He also made an excellent device, a lens, which really certainly improved poor eyesight in people. So, and it really worked. So what a human being to be able to say you've saved or given much better eyesight to people at a time, the 9th century, where there were not the facilities there are today, for example, in dealing with eye problems. So he had all this. But perhaps, and interestingly as well, just to chip in there, he was also, as well as being a scientist, a great scientist, he was a very skilled musician and poet. Now, that's really kind of unique, because someone so gifted on the scientific side to be gifted artistically and creatively is very unusual. So anyway, this man had all that. But the thing he's most remembered for, Ibn Firmas, is his flying machine. Now, what he did, he invented this machine, a device which involved having two wings. Now, again, maybe he was following the birds, but the wings were made of silk and wood and feathers, believe it or not, because he obviously felt feathers were an integral part of how to fly.
Right.
Anyhow, on the great day, he strapped this device to himself, and I suppose as a sign of his confidence in his machine, he proceeded to jump off a cliff in Cordoba.
We're going to take a short break now. We're back shortly. You've been listening to the Alien Spaceship Talk Show with Trevor and Emmy Hikins. The Alien Spaceship Talk Show podcast is looking for sponsors. If you're a company out there looking to spread the word about the products and services you provide, please get in touch with Deepstuff Radio Podcast on info@deepstuffrecords.com, or to use the contact form on our website to contact us, please visit radio.deepstuffrecords.com. Also, if you're looking to get involved on the Alien Spaceship Talk Show podcast, reach out via our Deepstuff Radio Facebook page. Thank you.